Here's your question. Are you waiting on the silver bullet in any area of your life? What you believe about yourself will ultimately dictate the outcome of your life. What do you believe about yourself? Most people are waiting. They're waiting for the one deal. They're waiting for the one hire. They're waiting for the one idea. They're the one moment that changes everything. They're waiting on the silver bullet. They're biding their time. They're literally working in business with this expectation that something is going to happen. This special person is going to walk through the door and everything is going to change. This one customer is going to come in and love what they do and make a purchase. They're going to get known, or they're going to get exposure, or whatever it is. That mindset is exactly what's keeping you stuck. Because the truth is there is no silver bullet. Very few times in human history has there been just this exceptional moment or this exceptional person that walks in and changes everything. It's just decisions over and over and over again. And most of those decisions are small, inconsequential decisions. Some of them are wrong, a few of them are right, but stacked together, decisions become unstoppable. The greatest batters in history in baseball are not the ones who stepped up in a moment's notice and hit the grand slam. They're the ones that literally just day after day after day after day, they were in the grind of perfecting the swing. And when it came time to actually swing, they had already done it 10,000 times. It was just muscle memory. Because momentum is just that. Momentum doesn't come from perfection. It comes from doing similar things and perfecting them over time. It's not about a big change. It's not about a big swing. It's not about the grand slam. It's about doing the right thing every single day. It comes from volume. Winning comes from volume. This is where most people lose. They fire one shot with the expectation of all success riding on that shot. And if it doesn't work, they stop. And when people stop, it's typically a telltale sign of a lack of character, a lack of discipline, and the lack of perseverance. It shows a weakness. If you can only do something, muster up enough to do something one time, and if it doesn't go well, you bail out, it just shows weakness. That's a weakness that's in a lot of humans. The ones who win are the ones who fire 10,000 times. The ones that try over and over and over and over again. So there's an internal shift I want you to consider. But the internal shift that has to happen is not just a strategy shift, it's an identity shift. Because when you stop looking for the silver bullet, you stop becoming fragile. You have to realize that I don't need this one thing to work because I'm going to keep going until something does. That's power, and ultimately that's freedom. Freedom takes away this mindset or this idea that if this doesn't work, then we're all doomed. That's how businesses are actually built. It's not one moment, but it's thousands of small, often invisible decisions. Decisions that you don't even think about, that the average person wouldn't even recognize, and it's thousands of them. The fact of the matter is success comes to those who are dedicated, who are willing to get under the weight over time, they're willing to persevere, and in the end, that is the game. That is what you have to do to be successful. It's what's missing in so many people's lives. It's what separates the winners from the losers. Go back to the ideas that you've had. Go back to those things where you decided to bail out. And I guarantee some of those ideas were great ideas. And if you just would have stuck with it, it would have won. You need to stop believing that everything has to go right. Perfectionism is oftentimes the enemy of success. Everything doesn't have to go right. It just needs progress. Stop looking for the one singular thing that gives you success and realize it's going to take 10,000 iterations. Stop being fragile. So here's the close. Are you still waiting on the silver bullet? Are you willing to forego the silver bullet and pick up the lead bullets? Because the people in this world who win, they don't wait for the perfect shot. They just keep firing. I actually think what's holding you back is between the ears. I think it's what you believe about yourself. What you believe about yourself will ultimately dictate the outcome of your life. What do you believe about yourself? That's where you should start, because what you believe about yourself will be the limiter in everything. No breakthrough is actually coming to save you. There isn't one thing that's going to come to your rescue, only progress. And progress over time creates habits that create success. You don't need the right hire. You don't need the right deal. You don't need the right strategy. What you need is more bullets. You need more conversations. You need more attempts. You need more iterations. You need more swings. Malcolm Gladwell says that in order to be an expert in anything, you got to put 10,000 hours in. And no one saw the 10,000 hours. Very few people saw when I was sitting at a desk late at night in my 20s, thinking and dreaming and working and pushing when everybody else had gone away. Nobody saw the, I came into corporate America very young, and my boss said, in order for you to be taken seriously because you're so young, you need to wear a suit and tie every day. Well, all my counterparts, they might have wore dress clothes at the business I was in, but they never dressed to that level. I could not afford the suits that I literally had to go get a job at a suit store to get a discount on the suits. I then bought the suits at the suit store and then went and worked my second job in order to be taken seriously in my early 20s. And I was competing with 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, because that was who was successful at that work. But very few people saw that. Very few people saw me working at a mall, at a suit store, until 10 o'clock at night, just so that I could afford the very thing that I was told could be successful. And by the way, none of it matters, right? Like, all of us have to go through it. That shouldn't be a moment where I'm like, pat me on the back because I did these things. And honestly, you should be waiting on the pat on the back either. The fact of the matter is success comes to the diligent. Success comes to those who are dedicated, who are willing to get under the weight over time. They're willing to persevere. And in the end, that is the game. That is what you have to do to be successful. Life success, to go back just a step, I have amazing parents. And I was super fortunate to grow up in an environment where my father was an entrepreneur, but also my mother was an entrepreneur. Both of them started businesses. Both of them ran successful businesses. And I learned so much about just like the life operating system through them that I was super fortunate. I feel like I had a jump start where a lot of people did not, and it wasn't really my college education or formal education anyway that led me to where I am. It was the life education. And really just some basic principles that were huge for me. Is I had a father who understood and had a great relationship with fear. He left his corporate job to try to pursue what was his dream. And I watched him do it. And sometimes he was successful. Sometimes we were extremely poor as a family, and sometimes we were wealthy. And I watched that. And he also was also present in my life. And so I saw this great dad who also had the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. And so for me, while he probably looks back on those periods of time and says, and he probably says to himself, I never want to go back to those low moments. I look at those low moments and I think, what's the worst that can happen if I go all in? I end up spending time with my family. I end up having a good relationship with my kids, right? He really had a great relationship with fear and taught me and gave me a great gift. And that is to understand, what to truly fear, right? Like, the fear of loss is really not something we should fear. Sometimes in loss, it brings us our greatest opportunity. The greatest times I ever had with my father was when we were at the lowest point financially, right? So to me, it's just like watching a person navigate that and experiencing that really helped me deal with fear. The second thing that he taught me is really ego is the enemy. My dad is a quiet leader who is not going to be an alpha, beat his chest. You're never going to find him on social media touting his wares. He was a guy who led from the back, who was never afraid of picking up the shovel himself, who was quiet, who was a leader in his own right, very demonstrative, but in a very quiet sense. And his actions and his results always far outspoke his words or the volume of his voice. The thing I learned from my mother, though, was gratitude. And that, I had suffered quite a bit of loss in my younger life. I lost a sister, then later lost a brother. And my mom, just a very strong, an emotionally aware person, constantly bring me back towards this point of gratitude. She would say, Eddie, tell me about, I would struggle with the loss of my sister. And she would say, Eddie, let's talk about your sister. Let's talk about your favorite day. Let's talk about the favorite toy she had. Let's talk about what was your favorite moment. And then she would help me rehearse gratitude, even in loss. And some of the greatest lessons I've ever learned in my life was to be afraid of the things that you should intentionally be afraid of. To remind myself constantly that ego actually is the enemy. Ego actually prevents me from getting where I want to go. And if I can find gratitude in the low moments, they become catalysts for massive growth. Every person, if you're human, fails, right? It's impossible to go through life without failure. If you're thinking through whatever failures you've had, business, relationships, sports, whatever it is, you began to look at it, and based on your perception of that failure, it began to seat inside of your subconscious. And the way that it seats inside of your subconscious means that you either reject it and you move away from that failure, you learn from it, you grow, you don't fail again, or you begin to perfect, or it becomes a part of who you are. It's your character. It's now your ceiling. It is your identity. And so if we look at our failure and we go from failure to failure, and we look at that failure with the right perspective, this is just a moment in time. It's not who I am. It allows our subconscious to kind of release it and say, this is not my identity, so therefore I don't have to continue in this path. The greatest failure is not attempting whatever it is that you believe you're called or you desire to do.
When you experience what you perceive as a failure, walk me through what are the steps you do?
Sure. Yeah. So the systematic steps that I go through are, number one, accepting that it was failure. I think that it's a misnomer to just say there are no failures in life. They're just teaching lessons. No, they're failures, right? There are things when things don't go right. There's investments that go bad, right? And I like the positivity and the spin on that investment, so I lost $1 million. That was $1 million, educational lesson. I don't think that is helpful at all. I think oftentimes looking at it and going, no, that was failure. It didn't go right. That investment did not go the way I wanted it to. And that's okay, because it's not going to define me. I'm going to continue to go down this path if I believe that it's the right path, and the outcomes I'm going to allow to take care of themselves. I can gradually get better to begin to, I can, start to help supplement the outcome or begin to create a different or better outcome based on the decisions I'm making as I go down that pathway. So for me, it's very much about identifying the failure, agreeing with it. It is failure. It didn't go the way I wanted it to. Then making that determination that failure isn't going to define me, and then beginning to take the next right action, right? Life is all about taking the next right action, the next right choice, right? So many times we get so locked into, what am I going to do in 20 years? How am I going to get to this great, grandiose, amazing thing in my life? How do I live a life of purpose? How you live a life of purpose is whatever the next right choice, the next right action in your life is, it's being purposeful and making that. A lot of the things begin to illuminate and take care of themselves.
What are some of the reasons people act so adversely to failure?
I think it goes back to this human desire to put a facade up of perfection. If I live in true authenticity, I am flawed. I do have failures. I do have things that I'm not proud of, that I don't like, that I want to get better. And I think the quickest way to overcome those things in our life that we want to overcome, it's about being authentic, and it's about taking down the veneer. People just don't want to be in failure because they don't want the shame of failure, because they really want to keep the veneer up that they're perfect, that they have it all together. But in that's the greatest roadblock to actually finding success. The greatest catalyst to success is looking at that failure in the mirror. Then you naturally can either accept it or you can do something about it. You have to get okay with what you're good at and what you're not good at. I think one of the most detrimental things you could do is ask yourself, what do I bring good into the world, and say nothing, right? And I think so many people feel that way. If you had to do one thing every day with failure, it would be to chronicle them. You know, we don't want to live there. We don't want them, but we need a place where those failures exist. Some of us are so predetermined to just like move on and forget about the failure. Those failures are great lessons, but also it allows us to make sure we're not identifying with them long term. I think it's important that we daily, weekly, monthly chronicle those failures along with our successes. And I think that in that we can make the right choice about how we're going to perceive it and how it's going to seed inside of our lives.